Welcome, superstar. In this video, I'm going to lay out for you the top 7 reasons why retreat leaders fail to deliver an incredible retreat experience. If you're here, it's because you want to lead an incredible retreat. And guess what? I'm a perfect person to give you great ideas about how to lead an incredible retreat by helping you avoid the mistakes that I've made and that I've seen other people make. I've been leading my own retreats for 10 years. Before that, I was leading much larger programs. And I've been teaching other people how to lead their retreats properly and profitably for the last 5 years now. So here I'm going to share with you what I most often see going wrong. I would say that one of the biggest reasons that retreats go off the rails is because of the people that are in the retreat. One of the things that you need to do, your job as the leader of the retreat, is to curate great people into the program. When I started doing my retreats, I really didn't think too much about that. I was so desperate to fill my retreats that I would pretty much let anybody come that I could convince to come. That was a huge mistake because what I know now is that even one bad apple can spoil the bunch. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying that these people are bad people, but they were not a right fit. And in a small, intimate retreat type of environment, even one person can suck the energy out of the room. Even one person can create massive conflict. Even one person can take the energy and the focus away from where it needs to be. So the number one job that you have, or one of the most important jobs that you have, is to curate awesome people into the program. The second thing that I see go wrong all the time is that people come into the retreat, the leaders, and they jump straight into the retreat work, jump straight into the activities without setting a good enough, clear enough container. Now, what's a container? When I use the term container in the context of an event or retreat, what I'm talking about is the structure within which transformation occurs. As the leader of the retreat, you are responsible for the container. And so I recommend creating a pre-frame at the beginning of your retreat, which sets the entire agreement field for the whole retreat. What's an agreement field? That's basically the rules of engagement. That's basically where you lay out that this is how this is going to go. One of the most important things that a container needs to be in order to support transformation is safe. And I don't think that it's possible to give too much importance to that. I think that that is a really, really fundamental thing that you need to create space for at the beginning of your retreat, is to create the conditions for a safe container. What does that look like? It means setting the rules for what's allowed, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. So for example, in my retreats, one of the container setting rules is that we don't drink and we don't do drugs at any point during the retreat experience, that we're going to abstain from any mind-altering substances. This is a trigger for some people, right? So this is something that you want to make sure that people coming into your container are ready for and okay with, right? So anyways, the rules of engagement are how you're going to keep it safe. Another thing you might want to talk about is what are the rules about what to share, what you can share outside of the container. Is it okay to share outside? One of my rules is that what happens in the circle stays in the circle. So I actually spend a good hour and a half creating the rules of engagement with people. And I used to think, oh, people must hate it or it's too long. Well, actually people thank me for it, especially later in the weekend when they see it play out. They thank me for creating the rules of the container. The third thing that I think can get in the way of creating a really transformational, amazing experience is to talk the whole time or make it about you the whole time or deliver content the whole time. The beauty of creating an event, an experience, a retreat is for people to walk the journey, for them to have an embodied, lived experience. So rather than you teaching or talking the whole time, how can you create it so that it's interactive and have people discover things for themselves rather than you teaching it to them? I think one of the best feelings that I have is when I have these objectives on the front end of the retreat that I don't even tell people about. And then at the end, they tell me that they discovered one of these things, right? Without me saying anything. I didn't teach it to them. I didn't tell them that, but they came to it on their own as a result of the journey that I took them on. Now, before I dive into the next 4 items, I want to invite you to take a moment to subscribe to my channel and to like this video, please. I would super appreciate it. The 4th thing that can get in the way of doing a great experience is poor planning. Specifically logistics, and specifically, I'm going to mention food, because I think food is one of these really triggering things that can really get in the way of a great experience, or it can really support a great experience. You need to give enough attention to the planning, the logistics, the venue, the food, the timing of food. You'd be amazed, and maybe you are one of these people, I'm not, how sometimes people can get really crazy when they're hungry. So you want to make sure that you've got snacks, that you've got food, that you've got enough food. I've had clients who, in earlier days, a few years ago, gave me a huge wake-up call when he said, I grew up without a lot of food in my house, so I need to have food. I need to have enough food. When we were plating, at that particular event, we were plating food and we were giving people a certain quantity, and that created a trigger for him. Now, to be fair, that was a trigger that he needed to work on also, and that wasn't necessarily the purpose of the retreat that he was at, to work on that particular trigger. So by making sure there's enough food and that you're being generous and that you've got snacks out and you give people the sovereignty and the autonomy to serve themselves food, something to consider. The 5th thing that can get in the way of your retreat is actually being too attached to the program as you designed it. What can happen when you have a lack of flexibility, that's really what it boils down to, not being flexible, is you can be so attached to the way you designed it and the way you wanted it to go that you're not present to and available for what actually needs to happen and what the universe is providing as its contribution to you. I'm a big believer in co-creating the experience with life, with the universe, and with your clients, and learning how to roll with things and switch things up as needed. The 6th thing that I think can get in the way is having an overscheduled retreat. I've done this many times in the past, is having too many activities, too many things planned, and not giving people enough space and grace to integrate what they're getting. Integration looks like time to journal, have side conversations with people, be silent, be still, go to sleep early, right? Not be thinking about the retreat, doing other things, walking, hiking, whatever it might be. So instead of overscheduling your retreat with an activity every single minute of every day, make sure to build in some downtime for people. And then finally, and the one that's nearest and dearest to my heart as a business coach, is not having an offer or a follow through for after the retreat. I am such a big believer that there's only so much you can do in a 3 or 4 or even 5-day experience. And that mastery comes from months and even years worth of work. And so a retreat is a great breakthrough opportunity, but real mastery comes from the work that comes after the retreat. And so I invite you and encourage you to make sure that you have something to serve people and support them after they leave the retreat experience. And if you want to talk about what that looks like for you, that's what I do best. I teach superstars like you how to create community coaching models, how to create community coaching programs so that you're leading a group, you're leading a culture, you're stepping into the leader that you were meant to be. You can find out more about my core foundational program at superstarbusinessbreakthrough.com.